Hi, Olutu. I think you are muted. Hi, colleagues. Is it only me that cannot hear Olutu? Neil?
Yeah, I also cannot hear Olutu at all.
Okay, I'm going to call him now, but I think Neil, welcome.
You can see you, Olutu.
Yes, and you can start with the session. I think there's an issue with Olutu's mic. Thank you very much for joining us
It
today.
seems to be.
Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Neil.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ipe. Guys, thank you so much for joining. I'm just going to share the link to the slide that I'm going to be using in the chat. Pardon me for not switching on my camera. I've got some connectivity challenges. I'll switch it on just to say hello very quickly. And then I'm going to disappear back and I'll start sharing my screen. Okay, so today we're talking about AI, Elicit, and a couple of other tools that we can use for research. I just want to make sure you can see my screen. You can just give a thumbs up somewhere in the chat or wherever, and I'll keep an eye on the chat as well. So just to say, if there's no presentation, this is hopefully more of a conversation so that we can get some ideas. If you have a question, type it into the chat or just grab the mic, ask the question. That way we can have a nice, productive conversation. Okay, so just to get us started, I just want to say when we think about AI, I posted the link to the slides in the chat. You can just click that link and you've got access to the slide. But as I was saying, when we think about AI, I think the only thing that I think you need to take from this conversation today is that right now, AI is probably the worst it's going to be. It's going to get better. It's going to change a lot of things in fundamental ways. Many of these things we do not know what that's going to look like. Looking at the future is definitely a fool's errand. But regardless of that, I do think it is something that we have to take into consideration. I'll be talking about limits of AI and things like that. It's important to know, but I think it's still just to take away from this is that it is the worst it's going to be right now. So yeah, I mean, conversations about AI last year in a similar session, a lot of the limits we had is no longer a limit, but actually is quite possible. Okay, so let me dive into these limits that we were told that I was going to tell you about. I mean, what you see on the top right-hand side here is, the Stanford scientists finding that, yes, ChatGPT is getting stupider. And I mean, last year, this was quite a debate. Are we as a collective humanity making the machine dumber? And some people argue, well, it's because ChatGPT is talking to us, so we are actually lowering its intelligence. And I mean, is that still a limitation today? Probably not to the extent that it was when they did this study. They are replicating it, but I mean, it is one of those limitations. So as these tools develop, they'll go through little phases where they'll do things really well, and then they'll do things really bad, and it will be correct. Okay, so that's the one thing. Yes, it was at one stage, but it's definitely not. And also to note that when they talk about ChatGPT, but like this in general, they tend to talk about the free version. So that is ChatGPT 3.5. So if you do not pay, that's what you access. Is it the same for GPT-4 or the plus version, the paid version? No. There's normally quite a significant improvement in anything that we pay for. The algorithms are smarter, the databases are bigger, and in the case of ChatGPT Plus, it actually connects to the internet. So it's just, and this is the same for all other tools. What we always get what we pay for, right? Again, another part of the caution is, if you're going to use any of these tools, and I mean, I'm talking a lot about ChatGPT, but this is about them in general. Some products that we try might not say it's powered by ChatGPT, but it has that in the back end, or any of the others, right? The ChatGPT is only one of many. There's Claude, there's Google's Gemini, there's Ernie from Badai. It's a Badai. I always mispronounce their name. But there are multiple options. And I mean, with many of them, it's not really clear who actually provides the LLM for these. So regardless of that, always make sure that when you engage with these LLMs, with these services, that you don't give something that you're not supposed to, right? This is probably one of the biggest errors that happened. Somebody at Samsung took some code, and it's a compression code, i.e. it's worth a lot of money, and they leaked it. April last year, they said, well, this is a $1 billion mistake. And I think it's been adjusted to about a $7 billion mistake at the moment. So I think it's just a case in point. Watch out what you put in. If you're not supposed to put it in, don't feed it to the models. We don't know where it's going to chuck out, especially if you're using the free version. This person used GPT-4. Somebody traced him on the internet to see where is this person now, and they were working for McDonald's. Somebody with 2 degrees, 2 advanced degrees in data science and computing. So they're probably not going to get another job anywhere else. So it's a word of caution, but just something to think about. What else we must also consider, maybe this is not relevant to all of us, but there is a rise of synthetic data, different types of data that's generated by ChatGPT that people do sell. So we always have to think about what's the data source. Ultimately, we sit with one collective challenge that I think faces all of us, academics, students, and especially everybody here, postgrads, right? What does ChatGPT mean for us? What does it mean for writing? And, unfortunately, there has been an erosion of trust in science and what we are writing about. I mean, there's various drivers, social media, all of that. Silly example could be, scientists find that drinking aspirin once a day decreases blood pressure, and somebody on YouTube says, no, it's not. It's big aspirin trying to do that. And so there's a lot of these different narratives. But I mean, it is believed that ChatGPT would further erode this trust. So it is something that we have to think about very carefully. And we see that in this one here, from the 12th of December, more than 10,000 research papers were retracted in 2023. That's a new record. I mean, I think it's about 2,000 more than the closest here. Anybody who doesn't know what Retraction Watch is, a Retraction Watch is essentially what I call it, the Goli or the Steven DeLon, or one of the other soap operas of academia, is where we get bad scientists outed. So if you do shady research, somebody complains, they actually investigate and they look at your data. Did you plagiarize? Did you use fake data? And that's what really happens. We have scientists out there using fake data. And I'm not talking about some obscure person somewhere who writes a paper every 10 years. Some of these are really big, influential scientists that get outed in these spaces, including the small fry as well, right? So just think about it. When we use this is those unintended consequences. What we do now might impact us later. It's just that last word of caution. And here we can see it. Here's an example. These are real papers, right? So if you have a look at this one, you'll see the introduction. Certainly, here is a possible introduction for your topic. Now, this is problematic because that's quite a general ChatGPT or generative AI response to, here's the introduction for me. And that can be problematic for various reasons, right? It seems like these colleagues have used AI, and depending on what the journal's position is on AI, they could be in some trouble. The other problem is that the journal itself is in trouble. This is one of the papers trending quite heavily on different social media platforms, and there's calls for the editor to actually step down. Actually, the entire editing board of this publication has been requested to step down, as well as people working for the journal themselves. This is not the only one. Have a look at this one. I'm very sorry, but I do not have access to real-time information or patient-specific data, as I am an AI language model. I can provide general information about managing whatever that might be. But again, here's another case of that. And I mean, the problem is everybody on this paper are trending for not what their study is about, but because of that little mistake that they've done there. And again, you'll see these are reputable spaces. A lot of these journals are actually quite highly placed journals on top of that, which is very problematic. Here's another example. This is actually from a book. Certainly, here is a more detailed explanation. I mean, that's quite scary. Here's one in the wild. So this is a real paper. That's the one that I shared the picture from. Certainly, here's a possible introduction for your topic. Now, again, if it's allowed, sure. But this also places a lot of questions about the rigor of a study like this. Who did what? Is it an actual person who wrote it? I mean, it opens up a whole host of different problems for the authors. So yeah, as I say, it's just something to think about. Consider carefully how we use these tools to actually matter. Okay, one of the big questions that I always have, these are serious issues. Yes, they are. These are just 3 of the approximately somebody did a little bot to go and look for this type of stuff. And they're verifying some of them. This is about three of the about 3,000 papers out there in the wild that this is happening to. So, I mean, this is serious. Imagine you are the editor, or you were the editor of quite a prestigious journal, and you're fired because of something as silly as this. I mean, that has some really reputational implications for you. So, same thing, you know, if we approach this, we need to approach it very carefully. And the simple rule for me is, you know, is the question about who owns the data. ChatGPT 3.5, you know, it's not 100% clear anymore that you own the data or they own the data. It used to be that 3.5, they own the data. I mean, regardless of that, if you're using 3.5, you can opt out of training. So what I mean by training is if you use ChatGPT 3. The free version and you've got a chat history, that means everything that you ask and everything that it creates is part of ChatGPT training data. And that means it takes everything that you put in and everything that it generates as part of its database, and it trains its model on that. You can switch it off, but if you do, you no longer history in your chat. Again, not a bad thing. I think it is a bit safer, but again, do we trust software companies? You know, some would say we delete your data, but ultimately they don't. So it is still a serious question and something to really consider. Then the other problem is still around hallucination. So anybody who doesn't know what hallucinations is, if you ask a chatbot or actually any of these generative AIs, regardless of what you do, if you ask it for something that it doesn't understand or it doesn't have in its database, it would create an answer. It would fabricate, or I'll just put it lies. It just, plain simply put, it lies to some extent. So, and this comes from how it is built and what it does. Now, I'm giving you the 5-cent tour of it because it is a lot more complex, but that's not the idea here. But if you ask ChatGPT a question like, write me a short poem about a cat, it would look at every single word and look at that in about 8 billion parameters per word, and then as a sentence. And then it would look at its database and say, well, okay, statistically, the words that come up the most is the cat sat on the mat wearing a hat, okay? And it would create that sentence, and so on and so forth. So what we are seeing is a mathematical model. Now, if mathematical models cannot answer something, then it would generate something to make it sound plausible. We have to think about these tools as something that, I mean, essentially it is built around a game to say, how do I fool a human into thinking that I'm a real person? And that's what it does. So it'll create a output if it doesn't have anything on that. And sometimes it might be wrong. We can see that definitely in spaces where you ask it to create a reference list for me, or give me a reference list on this. If it doesn't have one, it will literally create one. We've had cases where, for academics, you know, at Rhodes, where we looked at some essay submissions and stuff like that, where the academic themselves is an expert in this field, and it would say, well, you know, let's say that it uses me, it says Scrum, and wrote a paper in 2020 about X, Y, and Z. But if you go and look at the reference itself, you see that it's totally made up, that paper doesn't exist, you can't find it. But if you go and look at that entry, it looks so convincing that it actually sounds like a really good paper that you should be doing. So we're seeing that mathematics at work. So it's something that we have to keep in the back of our heads, right? Or keep in our mind when we actually use these things. Yeah, is there a question? No? No question. Okay. Then the last thing to say, what people when you just want to copy and paste. We need to know that there is an institutional position. We have put out guidelines. In the next slide, you'll actually see the guidelines. There's links to the guidelines around what do we think ethical use should look like. And also think about, this third bullet is journal positions, but it is also a conversation that you must have with your supervisor. Some journals we're banning the use of any form of generative AI. Elicit was one of them. And about 2 weeks later, they said, oh, we can't ban this really because it is futile. But what they mostly say is that the AI cannot be an author. So beginning of last year, you could actually get some papers where you would see Scrum and ChatGPT as the author. There's not a lot of them, but they are out there where ChatGPT is cited as an author. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, just the things to keep in the back of your mind. But then we can actually get on to what we're here for. Here's the guidelines that I spoke to you about just now. And you can click them. Right. So before we get into the other stuff, I just want to say, if you're starting out your postgraduate journey at the moment, and I'm going to reflect, because I myself am also a PhD student. I've used some of these things that I'm sharing with you. Well, I actually used all of them at one point. But yeah, it's just, these are some of the tools that will help you go through this journey. I think what was really useful for me, I used, where can you access the guidelines? Sorry, these are on the slides. The slides are in the chat, and I'm just going to repost them quickly. If you joined after I posted them, if you click on slide on that link I just posted, it'll take you to the slides. I think this is slide number. I'll tell you now. You know exactly where to go. Slide number 13. Okay. All right. So as I say, if you're at the beginning of your journey, I found ChatGPT a very useful soundboard, right? And at that stage, I only had access to the free version, but I had a interesting conversation with the chatbot. Again, it has it has a huge database, right? So you can actually ask it about very random things. It will answer you, but as long as you can know that what it is responding is not a sentient being speaking with you, then it is still a very useful tool. And this video, if you click on this one, you can see it's a YouTube video by Lynette Victorious. She has created an awesome video. I thought about recreating it and distributing it for the roads context, but I think it's actually perfect as it is. And she outlines a process for you to actually say, well, how do I talk about my topic? How do I how do I get onto the research questions that I want to ask? And I mean, these can actually be your interview questions or whatever. Survey items or whatever you are busy with. I think it is a very useful tool to put that in and say, well, are these a good example? Or what I did is I fed the one chat and said, you are so and so, and you need to react as somebody with this portfolio, this profile, and answer the following questions based on what you think. And yeah, they actually the chatbot could actually do that. Sibusisa, is this a bit better? If it is, just give it a thumbs up somewhere. Hopefully that has sorted out my sound a little bit more. Okay, I'm seeing thumbs in that side. So if it is good, so great to hear. Just going to give it a second. Okay, so it should be a bit better now, even more. Okay, the moment it does not, please let me know, and then I'll just stop for a second and we'll continue. Okay, thanks so much for letting me know. Okay. All right, and let's continue. As I was saying, and I'm going to recap just what I said. This video is fantastic for engaging with, what do you think is your topic, from discovering what your broad research space is, to even refining, what is your research going to look at, all the way down to even your research questions at the most basic level, the questions that you ask your participants, you'll do in your survey, or even the tests that you will want to do in the lab. It it has got limitation. As I say, we just need to be cognizant that it is not sentient. The word artificial intelligence is one of those sneaky moves. It's not intelligent. It's a mathematical model, right? Okay. As I say, this is just a great resource. I wanted to redo something similar for Rhodes context, but I think this is a fantastic space to start. As I said, I used it in mine, and what I did is I actually used one of the chats to say, you are this person, I work with academics, so I told it that you need to act as an academic, and I gave it the whole context. I fed it what is Rhodes. I even gave it a discipline to answer from. And I did the interview with chat. And it was interesting because I could see how somebody could potentially interact with the questions. Is it perfect? I don't think so. But was it useful? Definitely, because I got some, in inverted commas, of real experience, right? Okay, cool. So let's get, what have I, no, sorry. Clicked on the wrong space. It was going to play the video, and we don't want to play the video right now. So let's maybe get started into some of the interesting tools that are out there. The headline for this is Elicit, and we'll definitely shift to Elicit now, and to a whole subset of tools within this category. But before I get to them, this is probably my most favorite AI at the moment. It is called Perplexity. I am going to post it in the chat for anybody that is not following on the slides. But Perplexity it's basically Google, but a little bit better. And I'm going to use one of their examples because I think it's just the simplest one. I can go into one of mine, but so Perplexity is a space where you can either upload a image or a PDF, and you can ask questions about this PDF to Perplexity, and it would read the PDF and it would look at the internet and get back with an answer. So let's just try one of their example ones. Why do zebras have stripes? And it would give you, some idea of what it has found. Useful. The problem with most generative AIs and even a lot of some of the other search tools is that they do not tell you where the idea comes from. This one, you can actually go and look at the sources themselves. So it would tell you, where does this come from? So you can then determine, well, up to number 5 is great, not bad sources, but from here, number 6 looks a bit more academic. It's an academic publisher, New York Times, Forbes, Nat Geo, which is not bad, but it doesn't tell you, any of the academic stuff. Nature, yes, we can look there. So it gives you some space to start, and a way for you to actually ask follow-up questions. So if I now start asking it questions, it would ask me questions about that. Citations, you've asked a very important question. Is Perplexity linked to library resources such as Scopus, etc.? This one actually is live on the internet. So it might not be directly connected to them. It does use the internet to look at answering you. So no, it's not in the shortest way possible to answer that, but it can give you some useful things to look for. I've asked it questions. My topic is here on the right-hand side. I'm interested in knowledge. So I've asked it some questions here, and it's given me some useful places to start. It's not been perfect, but it has been useful. But this is only the one way. You can use the Pro as well. You have a certain number of free Pro searches daily, so we can activate that, and that gives you a better answer. So you can see I've got 4 left. If I flip this across, then I can actually get better answers. Sorry, this was the better answer. So with 4 left for today, and it reloads every 4 hours. So it's useful. It's definitely a space to get started. All right. So this is one of the tools that I've been using quite a lot. I actually do have multiple accounts, so this is only one of them. But yeah, it's been useful just to get some understanding of what's going on. Any questions about Perplexity? If you want to, you can really just take the mic and ask the question, or just type it in. Because Lisa has been typing. Yes, Ati. Sorry, I see you unmuted, but I'm not hearing you. No. Sibusisa, is it free? Yes, for the most part, it is free. You can use the normal search, and it's fairly good. The Pro is where you have to pay for, but you do get a number of Pro searches per day, which is really useful. So yeah, it's always important to ask that question. Again, same thing, same principle. Free is good, Pro is better. Yeah. Ati, I see you still unmuted. There was somebody else that unmuted themselves quite briefly.
Hi, Neil.
Yes.
No, it was me. I unmuted myself and muted. Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
And the Pro, and how much is the Pro? don't know.
I am not sure or top of my head, but I think it is. We can quickly check. Learn more. $20. $20 a month. So it's about the same price as ChatGPT.
Oh, okay. Noted. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, awesome. I'm going to move to the next one. Oh wait, there's another one. Is this a search engine that can be referenced? Christina, what do you mean by referenced? And you can take the mic if you can, otherwise you can just type it in.
Hi, yeah, sorry, yeah,
Yes.
you hear me. Well, sometimes, for instance, you can get information from Google, and of course you have to ask for permission and you reference it and you can use it as such. I mean, can you do the same with Perplexity?
So if we look at Perplexity, everything that it kicks out is referenced. So this sentence would come from 3. If you click on 3, it would actually open up that where it got this idea. So think about, when you think about Perplexity, when we do a Google search, what we're doing is we're asking Google normally a very simple sentence, right? When we search a academic database, we normally do a Boolean search where we say we're looking for these concepts in a constellation or in a particular pattern, and that's what helps us look for papers. When we work with Perplexity, we actually say, well, in natural language, I'm looking for this, and it would break that down for you. So you're actually able to actually just follow through. But as I say, what makes this useful is I can now ask it a follow-up question. So they basically say several reasons: thermoregulation, protection from biting flies, and social recognition. So let's say I'm interested in myself. I've never thought about zebra stripes. Is the stripes familial?
You can go deeper in that specific knowledge.
You can go deep. Yes, yeah. So or he read Terry. Nobody's allowed to laugh because I can't type, right? So now it bases not just on a new search, but it looks at this as well, and then you can actually get some more information. You'll get some more references, and again, you'll see where the references point to, and this is what makes it, really useful. These are 2 questions. Can you link it? Can you link on emails? Timberlato, you maybe just need to explain what you mean by that. So can you link it to tools like Zotero? Unfortunately not. But if you're a user of Zotero or any of those tools, once you're on the reference, then it's as simple as clicking, save this to Zotero. Now I need to save it somewhere. I'll put it under my priority because I can delete it later. And now it's in my Zotero already. So there's different ways in which you can import that from going to the link. Can you share links on emails? Oh, okay, I get you now. No, not at the moment. Not with the version that I have. Let me just see. I can edit query and I can copy the output. So I can send the output, but I cannot send this link for the moment. Well, wait, they say share. View access. Yes, I can. Simple answer. I can email, I can WhatsApp it, I can Facebook it. So yeah, it's possible. I'm just not sure. Secret, only the author can view. Yeah, so I can share it with you. I'm gonna actually chuck it in here and you can try it out if you're interested to learn more about zebras. So we learn every day. Is there a way to tell the tool to give out information that is from 2020 onwards? I'm sure that we can. Can you answer only with sources from 2020 onwards? So it reads it. And let's quickly have a look at one. Zebra sign. I have no idea what that is. That doesn't sound related to zebras. Yeah, it does. What? Zebra sign is determined. 2024. Well, yeah, it can. So I think because we didn't ask it anything further. Can you answer only with sources? So we replicate the same question, but now it still gives you the sources with only one coming from that source. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool. If you have any questions about this, just put in Perplexity in your question, and we'll get back to those questions when we can. Awesome. Okay. So that's at the moment my favorite tool to play with, because you can actually use it as a browser. Essentially, so instead of Googling something, I sometimes just use Perplexity. Another cool tool is called Heuristica. Heuristica is excuse me, but it is still very useful. So Heuristica, you can ask specific questions, and it helps you build a mind map. So if you ask it a concept question, you can ask it more questions. I'll open it up in a second. But I mean, this little video does show exactly what it does. And you're able to build on these as well. You can export it, you can save it. It's really useful. Okay, let me get started so we can actually go into that. So, I mean, we're able to actually say, well, what type of content do we want to know about? We're able to give it some disciplines to some extent. Let's go to psychology. Let's give it a topic, right? Select a node for it. Wait. Let's just do a new one, right? What's the topic that we want to know about? I want to see what it does with zebra stripes again. I mean, I'm using something insipid, but let's just see what it does. What is it? Just going to add that there. But what we can see here is, and again, I'm using a simple example, but I've used other types of questions. Other type of more complex. Yeah, it's the one thing that now popped in Sibusisa from Perplexity. So for some reason, I'm going to stick to the zebras for now. But yeah, you can ask, what is it, how, and it's going to generate in similar ways. The only problem is here you can't really evaluate where the content is from. But I mean, you can have a look at what we can see: some form of camouflage, aiding zebras and blending the surroundings, temperature, which we have seen from Perplexity. Various theories about their role in survival, So again, interesting. It would aggregate that. You can ask different questions, controversy, and it's going to based on what you add to this section, right? So just so that I want you to see something. I just want to look for the sorry. You can highlight whatever you want. You can ask it these type of questions. You can pull these wherever you like. Significance of stripes. I mean, I love it. Then you can pull these into different directions, and so on and so forth. There is a way where you can set the comprehensiveness of answers, but then you shift from the basic to the professional. And as you can see, this is one of the tools that would tell you what is actually powering it. So when we look at the heuristica, the free, it's GPT-3 powered, limited functionality, and so on. But with this one, there's a lot more. You can integrate YouTube. You can create custom prompts. There's different things that you can get with these tools. So yeah, I think I actually spent my free trial, but I had a free trial where I could actually say, well, you only use these papers, which was quite cool, because then you can actually put in the 10 papers that you're interested in, and it would actually build this based on just that paper, which is awesome, because then you get a very quick mind map of a paper really quickly, and you can export it. So yeah, well, not with the free version, it seems. So yeah, but again, it's useful. It's just something to get your head around some of the core concepts. And again, like anything with AI, it's not a definitive answer, but it at least gives you somewhere to start. You know, it's like going to Wikipedia, right? Everybody said it was a sin when I was an undergrad, but everybody does use it, right? Now let's start with Elicit. Oh, let's go to Elicit. Elicit is let me just go out. Elicit. I'm going to share this one as well. So Elicit is probably my favorite tool, for the simple reason you are able to do a search in a very, very simple way. And maybe I'll not ask it something about zebras, because I don't know enough about zebras. But if I look at their examples, I'm even less less enthused. So yeah, anybody got an example question that we can ask it? Anybody looking for literature on something? First to type it wins. It can be a very simple question.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to ask it.
Weaponization of weaponization of the environment. I think it's quite a mouthful, but
Yes, that's fine. Oh, my soul. Environment, and I'm going to make it very specific. How's that? Okay. And I think I even misspelled that, but that's all right. So, I mean, this is a basic search. So you can actually say, well, you know, theories around weaponization or whatever you're interested in, you can add that. Now, what you'll see with Elicit is a summary of what it classifies as the top 8 papers. And the top 8 papers are determined by various factors. You know, this can be from citations and so on. what you need to know about this, and I just want to get that name because I always seem to forget it the moment I have to tell anybody about it, is that Elicit works with, oh man, I just looked at the name and there it's gone again. Works with Semantic Scholar. So it doesn't search all of the academic databases, but it does work with Semantic Scholar. If you don't know Semantic Scholar, I would suggest you go and have a look at Semantic Scholar. It's maybe not a database we have, but a tool where you can find quite a lot of papers, right? That's the number of papers they have. As you can see, I normally come here. It is a great space to search, but Elicit searches Semantic Scholar. Now, Semantic Scholar, if somebody writes a paper and it gets published, if it's openware, it would actually take that entire paper into the database and it'll be available and readable, and i.e. part of this database. If it's behind a paywall, it will most probably at least have the abstract of the paper. So it can search abstracts, it can search whatever is available. So, I mean, again, it's useful in that it gets you to the literature quite quickly. But the coolest part of this is that you can add columns. So what you see here is what it came back with. Now, Christina, I don't know this literature at all, and I always seem to ask questions to these things that I have no idea what I'm looking at, and I can't speak to the quality. But you can load more. So it would load the next bunch of papers. And what this does really cool, and what I like, is you'll get what's the paper, the author, or at least the first author, its citation, the DOI, so where it is actually published. Come on. So it gives you a way to copy that DOI, and you can actually, I've selected the only one that doesn't want to work. And it gives you a one-sentence abstract summary. Now, that's very useful for me because sometimes we just have so much of I'll share this in the chat now as well. There's so much out there that, you know, what do you read and what do you not read? And this gives me one space where I can say, well, based on the one sentence abstract, yeah, this could be useful for me to have a look at. But you can add columns. You can say, well, what's the summary? You know, maybe you're interested in the methodology. And what this does is it actually looks at these papers and it would give you a one or two sentence summary. It would tell you about the methodology that was used, and so on and so forth. Now, this is quite cool because you can actually export this. You can export it as something that you can put directly into your Mendeley, your Zotero, EndNote, and so on in the RIS format. You can download it as a CSV or as a bib for Zotero itself only. So it is something very useful. And again, most of this is free, right? They are starting to move to a paid model, but their paid models work a bit differently. You don't have a subscription, you actually buy tokens. Now, I think that makes it really cool because tokens can be affordable. So you can say, well, I'm going to buy, this month I'll buy the 15,000 tokens that'll cost you about 100 or 200 bucks. And then you can use this, but the part that I enjoy the most, because again, because it doesn't have access to everything, it sometimes limits what you can do. So you can also upload. Now, I mean, this is stuff that I've uploaded. I've got 24 papers in this upload that I've done before. And I'm just going to say, open these up. You'll see that it is parsing the papers, i.e. it's reading it. And as they are finished, the papers with the title and stuff would pop up here. Just to note, some of these PDFs aren't real PDFs; they are images. So if you ever have to read something very old, most of the times that is something scanned. This would actually look at that scanned image of a text and it would type it up. So yeah, so here's the 24 papers that I've put up. I can ask it for a summary. I can ask it for the main findings. And this is where it goes. What you'll see here is there's a turn on high accuracy. So if you have the paid version, if you click on high accuracy, it would actually redo that and it would do the read of this in a bit with a better model. So you'll get a more accurate view of what's in that paper. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I'm just seeing the comments here. Can you find peer-reviewed? I want to go back to Citations. Sorry, missed your topic, your concept there, but can you find peer-reviewed articles from these AI tools? So semantic scholar, i.e. where this is pulling from, is only or mostly academic work. Some of it has been peer-reviewed. Some of it is preprints. So it is something that you always have to go and look at. As I say, every AI tool should come with a glaring warning that you have to verify what you get. So these 24 papers, I know they are legit because I uploaded them. If I go back to the searches, I would look at that searches and follow that DOIs to make sure they are actually real papers. And most of the time they are. I very seldom have found anything fake in here, but you have to go and always check, and especially check what's the journal. Predatory journals, they do slip through, but they slip through everywhere. Okay, there was another one too longer. My display does not show anything. Can everybody see my screen, right? If you can, yep, just chuck a thumbs up somewhere just so I can see it. Yeah, so it looks all good. Awesome. Okay, cool. Any questions up to this point? If you have any questions, pop them in. But yeah, this is Elicit. This is probably my favorite tool. I'm working on other projects, research projects with this tool. It really does a really good job at exporting information. And as I say, the columns is not just what is predetermined here. You can actually add in your own one. So if I'm interested, implication of findings, I can create it. I need to give it a description, and the same like any AI, the better your description, the better you get. And the same with the instructions. The better the information you put in, the higher the quality of what you're going to get out. Yeah. Portia, when does an AI tool become outdated? How would I know? So when you mean outdated, and I see there's a couple of hands raised, I want to give you guys the mic in a second. When you mean outdated, i.e., is it looking at the database? Most of them won't become outdated. They tend to update daily in terms of their as in useless. That's a very good question. I think it's in the utility. If it's um, if you ask it something terrible, if you ask it questions that it cannot answer, then it is probably that. But also note that, as I say, the better you prompt, the better the responses you get. So it is like riding a bicycle. And I'll show you my chat GPT in a second before we sign off, because there are things that people always said, no, this is not possible, but it is possible. It just depends on how you use the tool. So yeah, so it's just something to think about. James, you had your hand up. You can take the mic.
Hi, Neil. No, I just wanted to.
Yes.
I just wanted you to repeat the one you said that can read a PDF. Is it Elicit or what? Or Perplexity?
Well, Elicit, both can, but Elicit is the one where I can upload PDFs and it can build this table for me.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Awesome.
Meaning you can take
Cool.
an article and you upload it there, and then it will create this table for you.
Yes. So these are ones that I've actually uploaded.
Oh, okay.
It was still busy with reading them, but yeah, these I've actually uploaded 24 papers. So 24 PDFs have been uploaded. I mean, if I restart the process, you'll see that here are some of them that I've done before. So it will tell you, workflow history. This was the 18th, which is 2 days ago. Which is the same set of data, but you can actually upload this and it's saved. So everything that I've done 2 days ago is still here.
And there's no limit.
There is a limit to the number of columns you can do with a free version. But as I say, they're busy changing their model to get more paid. So remember, a lot of these tools start off free, and eventually they do start charging something. This one for me is probably the most accessible, because you can look at buying a license for a year for depending on which day you buy, from 800 Rand to, I think up the most I heard somebody pays 1,200, and that's for a year subscription. So $100 a month. I know it sounds like a lot, but the amount of lifting it's done for me, it's paid off in terms of saving me time. So yeah, but I mean, you can get away with the free version. I was using the free version for a number of months before I even thought about doing the paid version, and I only went the paid version because we are doing a research project on this. And that's the only reason why I'm on a paid version at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. One last question.
Awesome. Sure, go for it.
Do you recommend this for grading? Would you recommend it for grading assignments?
No, definitely not. It's not a grader.
Oh,
it's definitely not a grader. Yeah. This is looking for ideas in a text. I see a comment from Zanele in the chat. I uploaded Going to University, written by Sue, and it said it must give me a summary. The summary was very limited and untrue because I had read 3 chapters in the conclusion of the book summary and their findings. And what did you use, Zanele?
I used Elicit.
You used
I used
Elicit.
Elicit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So again, as I say, with a lot of these tools, we have to keep in mind what it can summarize. So if we want to take something from 120,000 words to 1 sentence, it's going to lose, because it cannot. It's going to give you what is spoken about the most, but because that book goes through so many different topics, it's probably not going to do that well. But if you break it into chapters, you might get something different. Again, that's why I say where the use of a tool becomes something that you have to try. I'm not saying it's going to do it perfect, but it's going to give you the essence of should I be reading this, or should I maybe prioritize something else? You know, if that makes sense. Yeah. All right, awesome. Any other questions about Elicit, or can I move on to the next one? I don't want to give you guys too many, but I think there are some really useful ones. Elicit for me is one of them.
I have a question regarding Elicit.
Sure, go for it.
If I want to use it to, almost if I'm writing a systematic review and I want to use it to create a spreadsheet and organize papers and, you know, that kind of thing, would I be able to publish that systematic review? And in the publication, would I just say, for my methodology for this paper, I used Elicit as a tool, or how would you reference that?
So Elicit would be useful. So I'm actually busy with something similar, but we are doing a human check of the output as well. We have not started it, so I cannot talk too much about the quality of that. But there are other tools for systematic reviews that I would think would do a much better job. I'm just going to look for the slide, then I can tell you where to have a look. Now, where is it? It's not this one. So Ryan is one that you can have a look at, slide 37. There is another one that Distiller is really good, but it is quite expensive. But it is really worth it. Have a look at that. And there's another one that I will post for you as well. I'll add the slide in a bit when we're done. I'll actually add it after Ryan, so it'll be the new slide 38. I'll add that one, and that one is really good. And there's a couple of people at Rhodes that have been using it. Yeah, but using that for it, yeah, I don't think it's intended use. If I was, as I said, we're going to use it actually for these papers. We're going to be reviewing a journal, the last 70 years of everything it's published. But we're going to use this table with all the information, but a human is going to still check that as well. So yeah, so I'd be cautious about using this specific tool for that, but there's definitely ones that are much better place to do that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So there is this one, literature review, paper digest. It does something very similar. I think it just categorizes that data or the literature in different ways. It is not my favorite, but it is very effective. So I used, in my own literature search for last year when writing my proposal, I used Elicit and I used paperdigest.com. They are still free as well, last time I checked, which was a couple of weeks ago. So very useful. This one, again, it comes with a big warning. Sign up for it. I think it's fantastic because what it does is it uses an AI platform that would scour a lot of the databases, and if it finds something that could be interesting for you, it'll send you an email, and you can read it in the app, or you can read the papers in the app. But it is very irritating because it sends you a lot of emails, and trying to get them off is quite a mission. It took me a while to get rid of them, but it was very useful because you get quite up to date access to readings. Yeah. Okay. I'm just checking the chat really quick. All right, all looks good. So we all have to do citing at some point. Somebody has mentioned Zotero. I like Zotero myself. I use Zotero. But you can you can use an AI. This one is Cite. It does two things. You can actually feed it a paper. Let's see if I can actually go there now. Sorry. That's a bit zoomed in. Oh no, man. What am I doing? I've broken it. Oh my goodness. I've literally broken my machine. Ah. Okay. So Cite, you can and unfortunately this one is paid. You do get a fairly good free trial. I do say have a look at it because you can put in a paper and it would tell you this is how this paper has been cited, and it links to most of these papers. I just want to look if I can show you one. So it'll give you, you'll submit the paper. It'll look at who cites it and who has, what papers it has cited going back, but also who has cited the paper that you have put it in. So again, very useful if you want to have a visual understanding of that. But I actually prefer, let me just find it. What you motto. Now I lost my space where I was. I actually prefer using, come on, the seed map. Lit maps. Lit maps or Research Rabbit. There's a question here that I'm just going to answer while this loads. How safe are AI systems with regard to protecting the user privacy while delivering personalized and effective services? So, Portia, I think anytime I use any of these AIs, you know, there's always a lot of risk because some of them don't really tell you what their privacy is in enough certainty that I always feel comfortable. The ones that I'm sharing here, I'm comfortable with their use. So you can explore these. They tend to email you, especially these ones, to say we are updating something so we know what we are doing. But I mean, I do not think that privacy is always the primary concern for these companies. You know, I'm always weary of what I put in there. I sign up in a particular way and I use certain accounts for just doing particular things. I hope that answers the question, but if you have more, just pop it in the chat or even just take the mic. So how is Cite different from Research Rabbit? So Research Rabbit, Lit Maps, and Cite all form part of the Explore, what I call the Explore the Literature. Let me just show you. I like using this one. Come on. So I think it really depends on which one appeals to you. All three of them are great. What I like about Lit Maps, it comes with the best price point, free. So it's free to use, which is the one I like the most. Again, I can import articles here. Let's actually import one. Aha. Let me go and look for a paper. Just going to look for a paper that I can upload. So, what? It's a terrible copy. Sorry about that. Let's see if this one is going to work. So what this does is it doesn't like certain types of PDFs. So if there's no identifiers in the PDFs, it gives you this error. But you can search with an ORCID ID. So if you know the ORCID ID of the person or the paper that you're looking for, you just see normally the ORCID IDs are around here. Great. Now I've got the one paper with no ORCID ID. Okay, let's just search the paper. So I'm searching for this paper, and you can see it actually got it. So I'm interested in this paper, and I say generate seed map. So what it now does is it actually gives you a starting point of everything that is cited in this paper. And this is quite a nice linear example of a paper, because this is where the paper is, all right? And this is everything that this paper has cited. So you are able to go to certain papers and actually, go and have a look at these papers. Here you can see, here's the seed map, the articles themselves. This is a foundational paper for this paper. Peer development, peer-led chemistry. So you can actually follow these papers all the way through. If you click on them, you'll see there's an abstract, the DOI. I never know if it's DOI or DOI or whatever, because people call it different things. But even this paper, if you just have a look, you'll see what's all of the stuff, all the work that it has cited or as referenced. And I can even start a new seed by just clicking on this one and then just say seed it, right? Also, who has cited that paper, this specific paper? So you can, from one paper, actually delve quite deep to see, where is that? And this has been, this is actually the tool that helped me figure out exactly where I'm going, because I ended up finding that one paper where I said, "Sheesh, this is so cool. This is what I want to do. I can see where I can add something on, but it talks about the same theory. It talks about the same content. So where do I go from here?" So I put that paper in, and you can just follow it. You can see, well, Blackie referenced Siri, but Siri was also referenced in Dwyer, but Dwyer was also referenced. So you can actually see everything is related to this one paper, and how it goes forward, right? So yeah, so you can actually see quite a bit from just looking at how this is mapped. It's very interesting. There's that one citation, GPT is a game changer, also a Blackie paper. So you can actually see where these things are going. Now, if I'm interested in this, I can say, oh, I'm not signed in. Not going to sign in now. But if I hit that seed, it'll seed this paper right next to this one. So yeah, so this is one of my really, really big time favorites. Sorry, I've got to send the link. I'm just going to open it up again, and I'll just paste it in the chat. So again, an awesome tool to play with. Awesome tool to play with. It really is. You find that one reading, lit map it, or research rabbit it. All of these are super useful. So research rabbit would not do the seed in the same way. It would actually give you a different view, but you can see the same stuff. If you put in the paper, it will tell you who it referenced, where it went, what similar work, all the things it's referenced, all of the citations. It would explore the people as well, and would tell you these are who I think is suggested authors. So it's really, really good to actually have a look at these. NextNet, if anybody is in bioscience, it's a similar tool, but specifically in focused on bioscience. I've got some academics that's reviewing it for me now. Insightful, pretty much the same type of tool. You find that one paper, put it down, and it gives you a connected view of that. Sorry, I'm just keeping an eye on the time because I want to show you some awesome stuff as well. You can listen to papers. There are a bunch of free readers that are fantastic. I think Udemy is now charging. At this stage, you could still use it for free, but I think they are charging now. The same with listening.io. It is a fantastic tool, but they do charge now. Unfortunately, it's about 1,000 Rand for a year, but you'd be able to listen to every single paper, and you could focus. Well, I'm only interested in methods, so you could just jump to that. Lateral, again, some of these tools are useful for a reading journal, which is something that was covered elsewhere, or for systematic reviews. Lateral is really good. Unfortunately, also the free tier is quite limited, but it is still something useful. The same. Most of these are the same. Distiller. Oh, wait, I actually did put this one in. Distiller is the other one to have a look at. Is it Distiller? I need to go and double check. Ryan is always good for anybody doing systematic reviews. And then there's a whole bunch of AIs that assist with data analysis. AlphaFold that looks at the structure of proteins and things like that. The same with PowerDrill and Einblick. They actually drill down in terms of your data. I've played with PowerDrill some. They do charge, unfortunately. So there's different tools that we can use in different ways. This one tool, and I'm going to put the link in, but I'm not going to open it now. I'll only speak to the PowerPoint, so I'm going to make this a bit bigger. Voyant is a fantastic tool that will give you a bird's eye view of a text or a number of texts. So what I've done in this one is I've taken the most used or the most useful readings I had, and I think it's about, oh wait, this is actually only one document, but I've done this with bigger sets, right? Where you could actually use this, and then it would tell you what are the main things talked about. It would give you some of the most frequently recurring ideas, and so on. It becomes more useful if you take 10 or 15 or 20 readings. This is completely free, so it is useful. CBCC, you ask anything for recording interviews? Yes, there are. And I'm going to get to them in a second. We do support Atlas TI for qualitative research. They have teamed up with ChatGPT to say, well, we can do coding for you, but it does mean that your data is available for ChatGPT, the full model, to actually read and then make sense of. But the data does never leave your computer, and it does not go into the training model. So it is fine to use, and you can use it in two ways. You can say, well, here's my data set. You do an initial coding, or you can do an intentional coding where you can say, this is my code book. I'm looking for things around gender identity, or whatever. And you say code, and it would actually code all of the data initially. We have done some experimenting with that, and some of them are really good. Some of them are also really bad. Okay, this is something that you can have a look at if you ever think about writing, if you're in that writing space, and you're thinking about using some of these AIs in your writing. Have a look at the video. I don't say you shouldn't do it. I just think you need to think carefully about how you're going to do that. This is a website called Future Tools, where you can access different AIs that can do different things. It's good to have a look at. They are reviewed by a group of people, which does give them some legitimacy, but you have to be careful of what you do or what you use from these tools. So just be careful to not put sensitive data or something that you don't want out there in them. Penelope can help you format a document. I've used Penelope for 1 or 2 papers. It worked quite well, but I do believe that they are also going to start charging. But again, it is a useful space to just have a look at. And then the recording of interviews. I'm going to actually open it because I don't have a slide on it. Wonder why. Now, recording interviews and transcribing interviews is something that we have to be very careful of. All right. And why I'm saying that is, again, we've got interviews. Let's say I do an interview with you, and regardless of what, I'm doing an interview with you, and I tell you that I will keep this private. If we use any of these AIs and that leaks out, privacy becomes something quite difficult. And it really does become difficult to really guarantee. So I think if you are intending to use any of these tools, vet them with somebody, come to us, let us know. We can help you with the process. We'll get IT involved. We'll make sure that we can give you all the information about these tools that's possible. I've tried this one and I vetted this one with Rhodes IT and a couple of other cybersecurity guys. Otter.ai, great for uploading a recording and getting it to transcribe for you. It does a fairly good job. It is not perfect. Again, like all AIs, there's definitely a limit to what it can do. But I must say, for the most part, I've been fairly happy with what it does. I'm just signing in, and then I'll show you an example as we get to the end of our session. Can't believe it. Time flies. Come on. Rachel, while it's loading, you can take the mic.
Okay, I joined a bit late. I'm watching from Namibia. I have a question on AI tools. For instance, if let me say I enter I type in part of my thesis. For instance, I write a paragraph and I'm not comfortable with my English being a second language.
The English.
And then, I enter it in chat GPT for chat GPT to correct the language error and the coherence. Will it be picked up as plagiarism by Turnitin? My own writing, I enter in AI.
Yeah. Yes, no, I hear you. So I think what you're going into is AI detection. And let me finish the Otter, and then I'll speak to that if that's fine with you. All right.
Okay.
Let me just do this one thing, and then we'll answer your question. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Otter, no worries. So Otter.ai will give you a transcription. I'm just looking for something that I'm willing enough to share, or that I'm comfortable. Here is a meeting around where we've used Otter in a Zoom meeting. You know, again, what you see here is one that I didn't set up, but it gives you a summary, it gives you an outline, it gives you an action item. So it's useful because it summarizes what it sees. But what is really useful is here it'll give you a transcript. So that whole conversation has now been transcribed. And I can click on, no, stop. Yeah. I don't know if you could hear that or could see that, but if I clicked on this one, it actually played that back. Let me stop that. So when I clicked on that, it actually played back that part of the text within real time. And who also said that. So I can fix that transcription, but I'm also able to re-listen specific things, right? And again, that makes it very useful because you can do that in the blink of an eye. I mean, that specific meeting was finished, I think, at 1:30, and that whole transcription was ready by about half an hour later. But again, I'm using this tool as well. I mean, it's actually part of my ethics form to say, listen, normally you would say, well, I'm going to interview you and then I'm going to transcribe it, or I'm going to pay somebody to transcribe it. I actually have that part of my ethics to say, I will be using an AI bot. And in my ethics form to the participants, I say, I will put your interview on this system and I will remove it once I'm done. And that's based on the terms and conditions outlined by Otter. That says, you know, you are able to, once you delete that recording, it would remove it from their database. Again, do I trust it completely? I don't know. But this is probably the best one that I could find for the time being. Sibusiso, you have a question about this one?
Oh, okay. No, you've just answered my question. You know.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Any other tool that you know of?
Yeah, there are some, but I'm still vetting them with some of the cybersecurity guys that I work with. Would it be limited to transcribing something said in English only? It can do other languages. You know, if you're looking at other, I don't know, inverted commas, big languages like French, there are models in Otter that would do that, but it does not do all of the African or South African languages, unfortunately. But there are, again, models that do that. But I will at some point make a resource around these are some of the models that's out there that's probably suitable for use for research ends. Because it's always about that ethics thing, and I think we're not talking about that nearly enough, but it is something we have to think about. Okay, Christina, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. You know, you mentioned these interview readers and so on. I've noticed that they are used quite often now in staff meetings. Can we actually ask them to be removed? If
Yes.
Should we be comfortable with them? Should we accept them, or should we just decline their usage at this point?
So it depends. Zoom itself has got an AI that we're going to be releasing into our Zoom environment. We're busy testing to make sure that it is actually useful. It unfortunately doesn't give you the same transcription, so it has other functions. But yeah, I mean, I would be, can I say, not nervous about it. I mean, somebody was in our meeting, James, actually,
cautious.
Yes, cautious. So if you're going to be discussing something that you don't want to discuss in front of other people, I would actually ask somebody to switch off their Otter assistant. James, who was in our meeting, had an Otter account. and he activated the Otter Assistant, i.e., when he joins any meeting, this Otter Assistant comes with him and, does a transcription for him. But the point is that is then out there and available. So it is something that you always have to think about. But I mean, it is a simple thing to just switch off on their end as well.
We don't use, I'm actually from Walter Sisulu University, and we don't use Zoom. I don't know if the setting is different for Microsoft Teams, but I've noticed recently that people are using it and they don't even announce it. So unless you actually check quite carefully the list of participants, you might not even be aware that that is actually on.
Yes. And it depends. I set it up to join this meeting, then it comes with me. But I myself can switch it off, but it's an Otter setting that I have to switch off. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think you're definitely fair play to say no, you want to switch this thing off. One just has to verify when using AI transcriptors. Yes, I think so. To longer, that's exactly it. It's about being upfront that you are going to use it, because it does increase the risk levels of your participants, and we can only get informed consent when people know what they are consenting to. So that's just part of that nitty-gritty that we have to start navigating. If there's no more other questions, I'm going to go to Rachel's one. So Rachel, at Rhodes, if you're a registered student, you are entitled and you do have access to Grammarly Premium, the education version, which is essentially premium, that can help you with exactly what you are saying. But if I was going to use ChatGPT to help improve, I mean, if you're using the free version, I've never had that one experience where I said, I'm going to put something in there, and what it puts out, I'm going to just write down or copy paste and say that's me. The idea might be mine, yes, but it never understands what you are saying completely, because it doesn't have the disciplinary knowledge that you are writing from. And there are simple things that it sometimes messes up, but it loses meaning for you. But if it does by miracle happen that you found that perfect one, AI detectors do pick up this similarity, or not similarity. It does identify AI writing. The science around that is not 100% legit. There are definitely problems, and you can have a look. A simple Google would tell you some of these problems. So yeah, I mean, I would use it to improve my writing, but I would be wary to just copy and paste that directly in. Do have a go at Grammarly, because it does really help with a lot of different things. Sorry, hopefully the noise is not too what about staff? Yes, everybody who's affiliated to Rhodes University is able to access it. I'm just trying to find the link to that, and I'll post it in here. Otherwise, I'll ask Ulwetu to maybe distribute it when he sends out the review as well to everybody that is attending. I'm sorry, I'm checking the time. I do not want to keep everybody longer than what we want to. Ulwetu, thank you. You've seen this. Ulwetu, I know you've got some issues with your audio. Will you be emailing this out? Can I send you another link for anybody that wants to sign up for Grammarly to just send with this link? And again, if you have the slides, I'll post the slide link in the chat now for the last time. My email is on there. If you ever have a question, drop me an email, and I'll be happy to have a look at it, or to give any advice or anything. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, the day before a a public holiday. I know for postgrads we do not really have public holidays, right? So yeah, thank you very much for joining me. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to pop me an email. And thank you so much. Thank you. Right, so thanks for joining. I will end the meeting already. I'll send you the links to the slides as well as the sign up for Grammarly. Again, have a lovely and peaceful evening and go well. Cheers.